Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you. Ms. Sue, thank you for coming and spending some time with me talking about issues that are important to Connecticut. I may get to one of those if I have time. But first, I really wanted to give you an opportunity to expand a little bit on the answers that you were giving to Senator Romney. California is a really big state, and so every number coming out of California is going to be a big number. And so when you look at this question of unemployment insurance fraud, right? $100 billion is a lot of money. But I was looking at the percentages from other states when it came to insurance fraud. And there are some big numbers too. The number in California is about 11% of benefits paid, but in Tennessee, it was 15%. In Alabama, it was 14%. In South Carolina, it was 14%. In Kansas, it was 27%. Every state had issues here. But what seems important to me is that you led when it came to implementing reforms, so much so that, as I understand it, the Trump administration ended up adopting some of the reforms that you put in place. So I didn't sound like you got the chance to fully give the committee the information on the reforms that eventually became standard practice or recommended to other states, and just wanted to let you finish out that answer.
Senator, thank you so much, and thank you for meeting with me prior to this hearing as well. First, let me just state again very clearly that there is no place for fraud, waste, or abuse in systems like this. The criminal enterprises that took advantage of the lack of eligibility requirements built into the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program made it was not only bad because it was a fraud on taxpayers, it was also bad because it made it even more difficult for states to actually pay out claims to those who were eligible. So it was really a horrible situation that there was so much fraud on the system. But you are absolutely right, Senator, that once we saw that it was happening, and it happened because the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, and the state auditor said this too, it did not have safeguards in place at the get-go. It was meant to go out quickly because we were facing a massive crisis in which people were out of work through no fault of their own in unprecedented numbers. So it allowed people to self-attest that they were eligible. It had a minimum payment amount. A minimum payment should be paid. It had an automatic backdating in it. So if you applied in August, but you were unemployed as of February, you got all of that, the amount back to February. Those were built into the program that states worked mightily to stand up very quickly on outdated technology and the rest, which is well known. Once, as California Labor Secretary, one of the things that I did was I stopped the automatic backdating. And that is believed to have stopped over $60 billion worth of fraudulent payments that could have gone out. After I did that, the Department of Labor, under the prior administration, did issue a directive to all states to do the same thing. Since I've been Deputy Secretary, what we've been doing at the Department of Labor is really trying to learn from those lessons, to make sure they are never repeated again, to work in collaboration with states, to be clear about the things that we should do on a national level to fight that kind of fraud, because that kind of fraud went from state to state, but also to shore up the unemployment insurance safety net so that in the next crisis, it can really deliver.
Thank you for that response. I wanted to make sure we got as much of that on the record as possible. I'm going to ask you a second question and just ask a commitment from you to work with me because I'm running out of time. You and I talked at length in my office about the challenge we have with the defense industrial base in Connecticut. We have to hire 5,700 new workers in Connecticut and Rhode Island at Electric Boat to meet the demands of the submarine fleet. We're producing more submarines than ever before. That's a real challenge for us, and it's a challenge we can't meet without assistance from the Department of Labor for apprenticeship programs and workforce training programs. So I just want to ask for your commitment to work with me and other members of this committee who are going to need DOL's help and need the Secretary's help directly in making sure that we have enough resources to train all the people we're going to need in order to fill the needs of our defense manufacturing base in Connecticut and throughout the country.
100%, Senator. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.